welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. For those of you who are new here, hi there, my name is JoJo and this is JoJo Budgets. So today's video, we're dealing with some technical difficulties. For those of you who have been following along, you're probably used to me posting my weekly check-in videos every Thursday. And I'd filmed everything was going great, and then my battery had died and it would just not hold a charge. So I have a Canon EOS 7D camera that I film with that we've had since 2016, and we really didn't film with it a whole lot until I started doing these videos. We'd use it for pictures and things like that. We mainly liked the motion picture feature since we have a lot of kids and sports and activities and things. But I guess a kind of a manufacturer defect with the battery charger is that when you go to plug in the battery, it will just give you kind of this blinky light of death. And that's what I had got on Wednesday when I was filming. And I went to upload my videos to my computer, and only some of the actual footage made it onto my computer for me to edit. So you'll see my sinking funds video tomorrow. That has all of the footage from the original filming, and then part of the footage for this weekly check-in is available as well. So the part that didn't make it is my variable expenses, where I track those, and with my transaction log. So I'm just going to talk you guys through what we had spent during week 2. And that's what we're doing. We're going to be wrapping up paycheck number 1, looking at our week 2 expenses, and closing out this budget. So I'm coming back after this had already been completely filmed and filled out, but you'll see how all of these numbers got plugged into this sheet from the original footage. But for now, I'll just switch you guys over to the transaction log and the variable expenses weekly check-in sheet, and we'll just talk through what we had spent. Okay, here we are at my weekly check-in sheet for variable expenses. I did my week 1 check-in last Thursday. I'll leave a link to that video up in the information card up here. And then today we're just doing this week 2 check-in down here. And then right here is my transaction log. For those of you who are familiar with my videos or have been following me, I always use this remaining column and I subtract out numbers to kind of figure out what we had spent for the week. I'll quickly walk you guys through that. I honestly wish you guys could see my setup that I have going on right now. I have my cell phone, which is what I'm filming on, and normally I do my calculations on my cell phone, but it's kind of a counterbalance situation. There's some yarn involved, a old iPhone box, and a weighted decoration, but you know, we're making it work. I'm feeling kind of like MacGyver today, but I have my daughter's Kindle here, and I'm gonna just use her calculator on her Kindle. So we're just making it happen. But first, on this weekly check-in, so I start here with groceries. I'm just going to show you guys an example of how I come to that number for those of you who are new to my videos. But I come and find the last time I made a grocery purchase, which it was at Costco. I stop there every Sunday, and coming down over here to this, you can see I had spent $59.49 on food. And I was over budget in this remaining. When it's negative, that means I'm over budget by $22.17. Now I budget $400 for groceries to last us 2 weeks. So since I'm over budget by $22.17, I know I spent $422.17. And then that's for the entire 2 weeks. So you'll see that plugged in over here on my groceries variable expenses paycheck budget sheet. But to figure out how much I spent for week 2, I just subtract what I spent last week from this $422.17, which was $157.04. And that gives me this $265.13. And then I document over here the $22.17 that I was over budget. So that's just how I come to these numbers to fill them out. It just saves me a lot of typing in the calculator with random numbers because we've made like about 4 stops at the grocery store over the last week. So yeah, we were over budget on groceries, eating out and entertainment. We ended up going to a pumpkin patch as a family, had spent some money there, and then we went to McDonald's. So those were a couple of purchases. And I budget $100 for eating out and entertainment for us, and we were over by $32.75. Household and pets, we did have to purchase quite a few things for them. We got a new little lizard, and he can't eat as big a bugs as our larger bearded dragon, and so my husband had stopped and got him some little baby crickets. And then we're trying to think of some other things. Oh, some medicine again for our dogs. We have some older dogs, and I think that was mainly it for, oh, and I had to get some toilet paper and paper towels. That was from Costco as well, and batteries. The batteries, you guys, we go through a lot. They were on sale at Costco, but it was still $14 a pack. And then for gas, we were under budget. I budget $150 for gas for us for our 2 vehicles. My husband and I both work. And the commute, we have a decent commute, but we enjoy living outside the city, so that's something we're willing to sacrifice. My husband, he'd spent $69.62 this week. He was over by $40.33 of the $40 that were budgeted to last us 2 weeks for spending money. I had spent $30.72 this week. I bought a new cover for my phone. The one I had was just kind of more decorative. It wasn't very protective, and unfortunately my phone had fallen, and a little corner by the mouthpiece was starting to crack. So it freaked me out. I'm due to pay off my phone in February, and I was like, oh, please tell me this phone can be paid off. I won't have a cell phone payment. So I got a protective cover from Amazon. It's been working great. It's actually the same one my husband has. And then I bought some socks. I also got a jacket at my work. And I was under budget by $1.46, but that's been zeroed out. It's rolled into this my face category. When you guys see me fill out my sinking funds on my paycheck budget sheet, I didn't actually add it on accident, but after the event, sometimes editing these videos, you find the mistakes that you made in your budget in real time, and you can come back and fix them, which is another great perk to these videos, is you can watch yourself and be like, oh, I totally forgot to do that. But anyways, so that will be rolled into my face sinking fund to build up for those more expensive beauty purchases. And then my oldest, he did not use any of his allocated $20. He'd been doing his regular chores, but our kids, they have chores they're expected to do just as a contribution to the family unit. And then if they want to do anything above and beyond, like he'd helped us a lot with yard work, getting our house ready for the winter. So we gave him some extra money for that. And then he's been doing a lot of side hustles with a couple of his friends around the neighborhood and helping, there's either young families or retired people where we live. So it gives these boys a big opportunity to go into their community and be helpful and also have a side hustle and learn how to hustle. So I'm very proud of him for taking the initiative on that with his friends. My youngers, 2 younger kids, they had used all of their allowance last week. I used that to chip in for their Halloween costumes for this year. And I did not, you guys, I am so proud of us. We did not have any unbudgeted. I cannot tell you, I don't think I've had 0 in unbudgeted since I started filming these videos, which was amazing. But we had spent $606.68 this week. We were over budget by $67.20. And when you add these together, and then if you include this positive $1.46, these two won't really balance out, but what I did is just make that 0. So this really would have been increased by $1.46. I hope that makes sense, but I just zeroed that out because that money is not going to be contributed to the variable expenses because it's being moved to a sinking fund. Okay, so that is going to wrap up the variable expenses portion of this check-in. I'm now going to get you guys switched over to the live footage where there was the paycheck budget check-in on my sheets. All right, here we are at my paycheck budget sheet. This is where I track our income, fixed expenses, variable expenses. Down here is the sinking funds table where I pull in any of those transactions from the transaction log that are highlighted in blue. And then at the bottom, I have this debt table. So this one page just kind of houses all of the information that I want to track as it relates to my budget. I'm just going to start here at the top with income and back to my transaction log. Income is green boxes. So I did have a little bit come in from Etsy. I just count that as extra because it's obviously not something that's consistent or substantial, but I really appreciate it. So all of these sheets that you guys see me use, they're available on my Etsy shop. I'll leave a link in the description box below if you feel like these would be helpful. And then we did also have income number 3 that was deposited as expected. So I'm going to go ahead and write those two down. Let's see, so I do like to color coordinate or color code. So if it comes in as expected, it gets written in blue. And then we had that extra that was for, let's see, $5.68. And since this is the end of paycheck number 1, or we're closing it out, I can go ahead and add all these together. So $28.98.51 plus $10.67, 10 plus $9.15 plus $5.68. Okay, so let me just make sure I put these all in correctly. We're looking good. So our income for paycheck 1 ended up being $4,886.29. Now what we'll do is come over to this fixed expenses section, and that is all of the pink boxes on my transaction log. So the first one that we have is our home equity line of credit, and it came out as expected, $53.76. So then in this remaining, it's 0 because if it came out as expected. So we'll go ahead and write that. Then check it off. Go ahead and check this one off. Next, just flip it over. We had our water bill, and it ended up being more than what I had expected it to be. So it gets written in red. There we go. And it was $135.68. And I'm honestly not sure why, but I do have a utility bill tracker. I'll show you guys, I'll update that before I move on to variable expenses so that I have better predictions for next year. And then daycare, it came out at $174. It's very predictable. Sewer bill, it has been consistent as well. The savings right here, that's always the same. Savings number 2. Let's just come through and check these guys off. Now this apple, you guys. Okay, I'm excited to tell you I had called the bank and put a freeze. So for those of you who have been following along, you've heard the saga of me trying to cancel my Apple subscriptions. My husband and I have not had Apple phones for at least 2 years, and we have been paying for this iTunes and iCloud subscriptions that are $4.99 and 99 cents every month. So like $6 every month for the last 2 years to use something, to have something we're not even using. I've tried calling Apple 4 different times. We actually canceled. They told us that we were canceled back in March, April time, and they still kept billing us. So I kept calling them back, and it was just kind of this run around, very time consuming. I know some of you said, well, just go onto your Apple phone. We don't have Apple phones. Those phones actually broke, which is kind of why we've come away from using Apple, because we were finding we were having to replace those phones because they break right after we paid them off. They just didn't last very long. And my oldest does have an Apple phone, but when we went into his phone, it would reset, factory reset his phone when we would try plugging in our Apple ID information. So that, of course, was not ideal. He was not very happy about it, and I don't blame him. And we would have to have like downloaded iTunes. I tried downloading it onto my computer to access it from there. And I don't know if it's because I have an older computer, but it was kept trying to have me purchase things, or the download would not happen. It kept trying to download like this teen, Apple iTunes teen. I don't know. It was just this whole situation. So what I did last week, I called my bank and had them freeze those charges, which I love my bank, you guys. They have been so helpful for us in so many different situations, and it was not a problem for them to do that. So someone had recommended that to me on this channel, and I just want to tell you, thank you so much. You saved me a lot of time and a lot of headache. This I'm filming this video on Wednesday. This subscription, since I did that freeze on the charges, is scheduled to come out on the 22nd. And so I'm going to be anxiously waiting to see if this subscription has been frozen. And then the next one will be the $4.99 one that comes out earlier in the month. So I am just going to write canceled on here. And then go ahead and just work through closing out this budget. So when you total all of these together, that comes to $1,162.22. And we were over budget because of our water bill. Now, before I move on to variable expenses, I'm just going to come over here and update this utility bill tracker. For October, what we paid for electricity and gas was $173.66. I'm going to need to make these boxes bigger for next year's because it's a tight squeeze. And our sewer's been the same. Our water bill had jumped up to $135.68. Now, we were doing a lot of pressure washing and cleaning our pool just to get things cleaned up and ready for fall. So I don't know if that is why. It likely is. So let's see. But that's something we'll be doing every year. So again, I'll just have a better prediction for next year. Now, for variable expenses, what we spent total on the last 2 weeks of these was groceries was over at $422.17. Eating out, we were over as well at $132.75. Household and pets, we were over at $131.35. And then, let's see, gas, we were under, at $135.60. For my husband, he was over at $80.33. And then for me, I'm just going to be a solid 40 because of that money that I have not spent is being transferred over. For my youngest, or my oldest, he had spent 0. My youngest, they had spent an even 20. And then unbudgeted, woohoo, we did not have any. And we were overall over budget and we spent $982.20. Okay, So before we move down to the debt table and or calculating out our rollover, I'm going to plug in the sinking fund transactions, and those are all of my blue boxes that you see on here. And if you want to see more about my sinking funds, I'm going to be doing my closeout tomorrow, so you can see how I use these tables to close out my sinking funds. Oh, let's see, I'll get my pink pen. We did have some more holiday spending. This has been all Halloween. Let's see, so we spent $69.39 from holiday. For clothes, I had that $40 that I put towards that work jacket. Kids' clothes, we did not have anything. I'm starting to shop for Christmas, you guys. So excited. We took advantage of Prime Day and got a lot of Christmas shopping done. School pictures, I have 2 kids in school, so of course gotta have pictures. But I'm so glad to have this sinking fund now, because that's a lot of money to come out around the holidays. It's been so helpful. But it was $83.41 for school pictures. Okay, you guys, so I had unfortunately lost some footage. I forgot to clean out my card from last week's video filming, so it had been full. But essentially what I had done, it was just update my home equity line of credit new principal balance. Because of that, minimum payment had come out this week. And of that minimum payment of $53.76, $25.70 of it went towards principal. So that's just what I had subtracted from this beginning balance to end up with our new ending balance for Paycheck 2. And then I totaled out our debts. So we are wrapping up Paycheck 1 with $57,781.01 of debt. And it hasn't really changed by much, but all this is a reflection of the cell phone minimum payment coming out and the home equity line of credit minimum payment coming out for this paycheck. It's usually paycheck number 2 that has more substantial changes, but it's still exciting to see. I like tracking the numbers and seeing that number slowly ticking down. Now what we will do is come up here to figure out what we are rolling over. And to figure that out, we are going to take our income, so 4,886.29 minus what we had spent on our fixed expenses, which was 1162.22 minus our variable 982.20. Awesome. Okay, so we are still rolling over more, even though we were over budget. We are still rolling over $2,741.87, which is more than what we had predicted. And this is why I always underestimate my income, because that just gives us that nice little cushion. All right, everybody, that is going to wrap up this budget. You'll see me next week update the actual rollover that I plugged into paycheck number 2. And I'll link the paycheck number 2 budget forecast in an information card and in the description box below if you want to check that out as well. But that's going to wrap up this video. Paycheck number 1 has been closed out. It was a success. If you all enjoyed watching this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed and you're enjoying the contents of this channel, please consider subscribing and follow along with my family and I on our journey to financial freedom.